this station. We are the talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Straight Words on WVON 1690. This is the talk of Chicago. You can reach out to us this hour. We want to hear from you. 773-591-1690. 773-591-1690. Our text line is 312-480-9775. You can make a donation right at that text line and contact Brother Naba'a. You can tell him anything you want right here on Straight Words, WVON. Brother Naba'a Richard Muhammad, Brother James G. Muhammad, I'm Brother BJ. So we're ready to reset this hour, Brother Naba'a, and get into your topic about what happened to the United Health CEO.
Yeah, Brother BJ, I want to take just maybe 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Because I really don't want us to be misunderstood. So, brothers and sisters, it is important that you understand that when we talk about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it does not mean you cannot ask us a question. Mm-hmm. It does not mean we cannot dialogue about what he said, what he did, right? It doesn't mean we can't talk about his ideas and the supreme wisdom that he brought, because it is through this process of talking to one another, right, that we can get a better understanding of one another. But I think if we started with some basic things, fundamental agreement, should our communities be safe and decent places to live? I don't think we would object to that. Should we unite economically to build a future for ourselves and our children? When we get about $1 trillion out of this U.S. economy, I don't think we would have too much disagreement on that. Should our women be respected and protected as other women are respected and protected? I don't think that we would disagree. Should we have a quality education for our children? Right? Should we do everything in our power for ourselves? Right? So we are not trying to debate or disavow ideas that you may have. We are simply saying that we have heard the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and this is what we believe. And this is what we know in terms of who he is. But that doesn't mean that if you believe differently, we're at odds with each other. We're not. We're not. And I would say the success of the Nation of Islam has been due to that very fact. Our people don't see us as some separate, not the masses of our people. And I would say even the middle class and the upper class, they don't even really see us as some strange group that's over there in the corner by themselves. They maybe can't afford to say it publicly, but our people see them. Our people rather see us as their brothers and sisters. They call on us when they need help. They call on us when they need help with their children. They call on us. We got brothers and sisters around the country that are mediating beefs, stopping us from killing each other right now. Right now. We got sisters that are counseling young sisters, helping them to navigate a very difficult and very hard society. You have us providing spiritual teaching so that our people can get a greater level of spiritual consciousness. And the underlying point of our spiritual teaching, if you could say what the religion is, we are taught the best religion is to treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, it is.
So I don't want us to be misunderstood. I don't want us to be misunderstood. And I'm going to say this real quick, because I think we can never discount history, because history teaches our things. So when we look at how Black Chicago is suffering now, how did we get to this point? What were some of the public policies that contributed to the destruction of Black Chicago? One, housing. The use of highways, industrial zones, and open land to create physical barriers between communities, meaning that they ran highways through our communities, destroying them and destroying the most vital areas, right?
Exactly.
Racism in the housing market that limited Black residents' options to the south and west sides of the city, sides that were deprived of investment and services. Racism in employment that reduced our access to higher wage jobs with benefits. Contract sales where Black buyers paid more on average homes sold on contract than white buyers did for conventional mortgages. And according to the Samuel Du Bois Cook Center on Social Equity, on average, the price markup for homes sold on contract, the price markup was 85% when we could own a home. Public housing, the isolation of poor people, the lack of services, the lack of investment, and then now where we have, even if the public housing wasn't the greatest, it's basically been destroyed. The closing of Chicago public schools and a failure to invest in Chicago public schools and give our children a quality education. Foreclosures, in particular, when you look at the early 2000s and the 90s, where the mortgage, listen to me carefully, brothers and sisters, the banking industry, people like Wells Fargo, came into our community and approached, in particular, senior citizens and others to get these exotic loans, these loans that people couldn't understand. And they came and they stripped the equity out of our communities. Don't you know that housing is the way that people accumulate wealth in this country? That they pass on to generation to generation, so those foreclosures, the draining of wealth, and the housing crisis that we suffer from now. The lack of access to health care and quality food. We ain't got to talk about that. Over-policing by law enforcement. These are the things we have suffered. What's my point? My point is the people that did these things to us is not going to save us.
Right.
Because they did all of these things on purpose. So that makes it imperative that we unite and do everything in our power. Everything. Make every sacrifice to come together, to forge a way together for our survival. So I hope that's a little clear. Now I wanted to get into our subject, and this is really, I think, Brother BJ, like you said, this to me has been fascinating to watch. And this is now where we have this young white man, Luigi Mangione, who is now, he's being held in Pennsylvania where he was arrested. And New York police say he is the suspected killer of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. This is the CEO who was shot to death as he was on his way to a shareholders meeting in New York. Right? But there remains this outpouring of support for Mr. Mangione. And his lawyer said tonight that some people have called his office wanting to help pay for his defense. But the question, the thing, and two things. For me, I'm looking at what is it that made people respond the way that they did, not in condemning this act, but some people applauding it, unfortunately, because we don't believe that anybody should be killed outside the law of justice, and we don't attack, assault, or hurt no one. unless it's in self-defense. Let's make that clear. We don't gloat over the death or the passing of anyone.
That's right.
Because death comes to all of us. We don't get into that. But in looking at the mindset of so many of the American people that are outraged and angry over the health industry and how it has really wrecked their lives. I know somebody that has a pre-existing condition. They've got to pay for their own health care, so they're already paying over $1,100 a month. The price that they had to pay before the insurance would kick in, right, was $500. Now going into 2025, it was $500. Now going into 2025, they are raising that to $5,000. You've had doctors come forward, talk about how these health insurance companies, which is a billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry, huge profits. I think Mr. Thompson, the CEO whose life was taken, was being paid about $10 million a year. Right? And but people, doctors saying that a child that had been through, that was dealing with cancer, was denied pain medication. Right after the news broke about Mr. Thompson and his death, another insurance company announced that they were not going to, check this out now, basically limit anesthesia during operations, limit pain medication. They're saying that no, it was a misunderstanding. They never said they was going to do that. And it's estimated that some 68,000 Americans lose their lives because of these decisions by insurance companies. Wow. So in my mind, the question is, man, what are we looking at? What does it say about where the country is headed? And lastly, and brothers, y'all can get in, callers, you can get in, because I really would like to hear what you think. 773-591-1690. And the other thing is the mainstream media's handle of this. Because I was watching one of the mainstream networks on TV. And of course they were condemning what has been said on social media. And then one of the panelists, man, a black woman said, well, people say a lot of things on social media, but it doesn't matter. I thought, wow, man, that's kind of, in my view, kind of blind. Because if people are saying something to you at this level, you need to do more than just condemn the fact that this man was killed. You need to try to understand what happened. When we're killed by the police, huh?
Right.
I don't care if the police officer shot you down and you was totally unarmed. There's always, we need to get into what? The mind of the officer. What was he going through? What was his or her mind at the time that it happened? And is it fair for us to second guess them when they've got to make life and death decisions in seconds? I'm going to read you one piece, and this is a piece that I wrote, one part from a piece that I wrote, and it's on straightwords.com. And the piece is entitled, "Why Did Anger and Outrage Explode with CEO Killing?" This was something that was tweeted out. Comedian Bill Burr comments on slain CEO Brian Thompson. I was sitting there reading an article, and a guy was like, oh my God, he's such a great guy. He had a wife and kids, and he's such a great guy. And then you find out he, meaning Mr. Thompson, and other guys he's working for are getting sued for $121 million for dumping a stock and not letting people know. They're gangsters, dude. and then one of them gets whacked or something. They're like, I was good. He was such a good guy. It's a dirty game. And that was tweeted by Ken Klippenstein on X. Here's another one from another tweet. This one is from, one second here. This one is from, and it's plenty of stuff out there if you want to see. Anthony Zinkas tweeted, "Today we mourn the death of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, gunned down." Then he says, wait, I'm sorry. "Today we mourn the deaths of the 68,000 Americans who needlessly die each year so that insurance company execs like Brian Thompson become multimillionaires." Here's the final tweet that I wanted to share. UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson was brutally murdered in what appeared to be a calculated hit by a hired assassin. Yet, now check this out, yet in the relentless world of corporate America, business carried on as usual. With Thompson's lifeless body lying at the entrance of the building where the shareholders meeting was taking place, the proceedings went on without interruption. Adding a chilling twist, the company's stock rose by 2.5% after, rewarding investors with a handsome profit. Hashtag only in America. And this was an observation from @Raheem Shabazz. So the killing of this man made the company money. So,
wow.
And they continued on his business. So I'm just wondering, brothers, what are some of your thoughts? Where do you see society heading, or anything as you look at what we're looking at?
I think, my brother, what I see is, since the rise of Trump, and it's not just him, but back when Newt Gingrich and all those guys were running things, they amped up the dialogue or the arguments publicly in a way that made it seem like, everybody was against each other. You couldn't hardly, where they used to play baseball with each other in the Congress, they barely talk. So since then, but Trump took it to another level where basically anything goes, and that trickles down into the public. And so with the kind of anger, as you mentioned, the black-white anger, the anger at Big Pharma, because, America is paying more for medication than any other country. Congress barely can even go and negotiate prices with Big Pharma for Medicare and Medicaid. The banks that back in 2008, where they were drawing people who had good credit into subprime loans, destroying their equity in their homes, or causing them to later lose their big homes. So yeah, that anger is at a high level right now, and that's what you're kind of seeing, and especially when something like this happens, given what you just said about him, dumping stock, et cetera, et cetera. So people are online now selling merchandise with Luigi initials and pumping him up, trying to make $1 off him, or trying to pump their profiles up by, some are sincere, some are not. Some of them just want to get their profiles out there. But it's kind of, as you mentioned, it's kind of crazy. And that's where this society, it kind of reminds me of what they call the Mexican drug cartels, where they will whack a CEO, they will whack a politician, just out in the open. And that kind of is that where this country is headed? That's the question we need to be asking. I mean, I'm sure Mr. Luigi has gotten a lot of interest, because and especially a lot of interest from some of these CEOs who may be kind of getting concerned that this country may be headed in that direction, especially when you pump up what they call the immigration and drug criminals, as Trump calls it, drug criminals coming across the border, and the busloads. So these CEOs might be getting concerned that some of that kind of activity, not necessarily from drug cartels, but just from regular citizens, might be about to go down. And so I'm sure they're concerned about. That's kind of how I think of some of it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I saw was they're trying to make him out of a folk hero and a sex symbol at the same time.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, these people are sick, man. They talk about how good looking he is, and he's a sex symbol, and all this crazy stuff, and it just goes to show you the moral decline of this country. I mean, if they feel like that over white people feel like that over a man who allegedly has killed the CEO of big healthcare. I mean, we ain't got a chance. Like my brother said earlier, I think this is a topic that we should talk about, the mentality of white anger, not only against them, but against us when Trump and the boys take office January the 20th. It's something to look at, because this is not, something that's isolated in terms of the mentality of the rabid thirst for blood, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't care about their own killing them like that. God knows they don't care about killing black people with impunity. Like, I just don't see anything good coming out of this, bro.
But can you imagine the same situation happening, but instead of it being Luigi, there's a brother walking behind the white CEO, doing the exact same thing in the exact same manner and getting away? I would almost guarantee that he wouldn't become the kind of celebrity that is happening now. I can guarantee that.
And I think that when you look online, this crosses all across racial lines.
Yeah, you had a black girl on TV.
This crosses all across racial lines, because black people are more likely to be denied claims. We have less health insurance than others, and we have worse health insurance than others.
And we should be angrier. We should be angrier than any other.
And so but I think you have to ask the question. Or I would ask the question: what happens when people in the society begin to believe that nothing works for him? Because nothing works for him. Because I've been hearing people say, "Well, there are other ways if you're disenchanted, or if you don't like what the healthcare companies are doing, there are other ways to fight them." But I ain't heard nobody say how. How can you fight them when these people control members of Congress?
Yeah, Congress can't even sit down to negotiate prices with them.
Bought and paid for. And then, Brother James, and the Supreme Court decision a couple of years ago, it gave corporations the right to free speech, the same that they give to people.
And that's why all that money is in elections now.
Billions of dollars in a presidential election. What is that? And then, Brother James and Brother BJ, you talked about the fact that the federal government, which spends tons and tons of money on drugs, cannot negotiate with pharmaceutical companies to get the drug prices lower. They can't do that because of the money in big pharma.
Yeah,
and then people are losing their loved ones, and they're looking. And where do they go? If my grandmother is sick right now, or any grandmother, regardless of race, okay? Any grandmother is sick right now, and she needs a specific kind of drug to help her maintain her life, right?
Right.
Now, she didn't pay insurance or she's on the Medicaid or whatever. Medicare, I guess. Medicare. And yet, the insurance company denies her this treatment. They say it's experimental. Because anytime you would have health insurers or a company talking about limiting pain medication during operations, and I read something the other day that said that when these insurance companies pay for things like operations, guess what? They still make a profit. Did you hear me? So They don't lose money when they extend care, but this drive for profits, man, this corporate greed, and then, so what do I do? Who do I turn to? Who do I turn to? I mean, you've had congressmen, right? Like Congressman Danny Davis and others, where family members now look at this, are trying to save the life of a loved one. And they're trying to get a specific kind of treatment. They have had to call on that congressman. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Had to call Congressman Danny Davis and get him to exert his influence, pressure, do whatever he can, look at the regulations and the law, do whatever he can to get their loved one this medication that they need. Right? And he does it. Now imagine that now. Imagine that. And so the other thing is we pay, the U.S. does, the most for health care, and has one of the worst, if not in terms of, let's say, the Western world, in terms of outcomes and in terms of what we're spending, the value for what we're spending.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, to me, it's really like, in my mind, it's like the continued unraveling of society, where millions of people feel that the situation is fixed.
Yeah. And no way.
And they'll never get ahead. Exactly. Many white Americans feel that way. Yeah. That may not be true, but they feel that way. But we know that even for poor white people, this country doesn't serve them.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It doesn't serve them. Boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that whiteness blinds them. That whiteness blinds them to reality.
Mm-hmm.
And now, matter of fact, I got a book. It's called "Dying of Whiteness," right? And in this book, the book was published before Obamacare. And in this book, the authors were talking about different things related to white existence and white thinking and attitudes and sentiments in America and how they play out. So in this book, Dying of Whiteness, they interview a white man, right, who has a fatal disease. But when they talk about like national health care or like a national health care plan, this man says no. And when they ask him why, he says because he doesn't want basically the niggas to get nothing, to benefit.
Mm.
Now here you got a man. Now think about this, brothers and sisters. Here you got a man that needs a change in the system to save his own life.
Mm.
But he would rather die, literally. He would rather die literally than support change. So this society is really sick on a number of different levels.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other part for me is, so brothers and sisters, if we are seeing the breakdown, the breakup, and the unraveling of American society, should we depend on American society to save us? Can we afford to do that?
What should we do?
Can we afford to believe that a country that cannot save itself, apparently, right, is going to somehow going to devote attention to us?
Mm-hmm.
And I know, brothers and sisters, a lot of us are fighting and fighting hard for reparations. I just have to say to you, this is just my view, that no matter how valid our claim, and we got a valid claim, ain't no doubt about it. No matter how much we organize and present that claim to white people, I don't see them doing anything.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing anything. Go ahead, Brother James.
Yeah, no, I was just going to mention, like Minister Ishmael was mentioning something that kind of stuck with me at the meeting on Sunday. He talked about what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, there would be a lull before the storm. And it seems like right now, with the transition coming, the election is over. There was a lot of buildup and anxiety leading up to the election. And obviously there was a lot after. But right now it's like we're in between what was and what might be coming. And so the question to your point is, as we are in this lull, we don't have much time. But when January 21st comes, or whenever Trump first takes office, he has an aggressive agenda. And that agenda is going to throw a lot of things up in the air. It'll be like taking a stack of cards and throwing it up in the air, and you don't know what's going to land where. You're just reaching to grab something. And so what are we going to be doing? What are we going to do as he launches whatever he has planned for the border? And there needs to be some control at the border. Nobody denies that. But as he launches it in such a way that is symbolic of his way of being chaotic, arresting people, throwing people in jail or throwing them out the country, et cetera, and all the other attacks, there's going to be multiple things going on, and we're going to be, as a people, in the mix. And we're not, in my opinion right now, we're not organized enough to know what to do, where we're going to go. I mean, I think the nation, we are definitely organized. But as a people, we're going to be out there grabbing for cards as he throws it up in the air, trying to say, what the hell are we going to do? And at the same time, the angst in the people, the anger in the people will be mounting. Trump perhaps will be stoking the racial, he'll be blowing those dog whistles. He'll be releasing people from jail who attacked the Capitol. I mean, it's going to be a mess, potentially. Yeah. And so the question is, we as black people, I think those are the winds that the Bible speaks on. It says, the preaching is enough. The minister's been preaching for 40-something years. The messenger preached for 40-something years. Now the winds are going to blow. And that's going to make the bones unite and stand up. And so that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And I would suggest people get their supplies together, get your supplies stocked in your homes, and just get ready, brother. That's kind of how I see it.
Yes, sir. We got a phone call. Mama D is on WVON 1690 to talk to Chicago on Straight Words. Assalamu alaikum, Mama D. Go ahead and talk to us, ma'am.
Mama D.
Well, assalamu alaikum to you. Trump said that African Americans built this country. Biden said immigrants built it, and Harris said the middle class built it, and there was no middle class in 1776. So I think we do need unity. And the way to get that is, as I said last week, October 16th and December 18th were designated Divinity Days in Chicago 29 years ago in 1994. December 18th, Spiritual Succession Divinity Day, will mark the 159th anniversary of the certifying of the 13th Amendment that abolished slavery except if you're convicted of a crime. Now, the United Nations called chattel slavery the greatest Holocaust in the history of humankind. The UN voted it a crime against humanity on August 31st, 2001, and they recommended reparations for descendants. Former Presidents Bill Clinton and George Bush, in the June 18, 2009 U.S. Senate and Congress apology for slavery and segregation laws, said the vestiges still exist today. So what should we do? First thing is, unity begins with you. And what each person needs to do on these divinity days, because they're different from holidays and holy days, they require you to be still, stay indoors, fast, and pray. Using these non-carnal weapons, we need to get set now, put in with your employer that when the 30th anniversary of Atonement Day comes up next year, when the 160th anniversary of the certifying of the 13th Amendment comes up next year, ask them for that day off already so that you don't show your faith. Stay inside your home. Honor our ancestors with some action. The word tells us, be still and know. It didn't tell us to march around. And obedience is better than sacrifice. So we have put in and expect a new designation to go in on Divinity Days on Friday, or maybe City Council might. Lopez and Moore and Alderman Shirley Coleman, who is over the Black Caucus, might introduce it tomorrow. But what do you think about that as a profound statement to be made? And we get ready for that now.
Okay, thank you, Mama D, for your call. I wanted to say, brothers and sisters, I think these events that try to raise our spiritual awareness, right, and our level of considering deeply who we are and what we want, and then doing things like absenting ourselves from the society and appealing to God himself for our salvation, for answers, for the way forward, for strength to do the things that we need to do. I think that's a great thing, because I think the day after Divinity Day, which is now giving us this spiritual fortitude and its inspiration, now we go to work to make that unity real and to make it operational, because not only do we desire it, but we believe that it is in accord with God's will himself, and we can't fail. We just have to be courageous and faithful enough to go forward.
That's right, brother. 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690. Jump on the phone lines and join the conversation tonight. You can text us as well, brothers and sisters, at 312-480-9775. And we use that number as your pledge of support for the show to keep us on the air every week. 312-480-9775. You're listening to WVON 1690, Talk of Chicago. Brother Naba'a Richard Muhammad and Brother James G. Muhammad.
You know, brothers, the other thing, and I kind of refer to this different times, but there are literally millions of Americans who believe that change will only come in this country through civil unrest or civil war. Now, I'd like us just to consider that for a minute. Like, millions of people in America is the most armed nation on the planet. I think the country got more guns than it does have people, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So again, for me, It's looking at the society. So when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talks about the unraveling of a great nation, we need to look at what's happening in America in a serious way.
Right.
And then when he presents solutions, and you can check out the final call, and check it out online, and there's some pieces there, and I've got an editorial, but there's some things that the minister has said, in particular the last couple of weeks. And one of the things that he asked in one of the articles, taken from his really illuminating book, Torchlight for America, first published in 1993, I believe, he asked a question that, well, he talks about hiding the truth, right?
Yeah.
And the cost of that for people, and the cost of society. And he talks about, and he warns about, and he asks the question, so what happens when the American people find themselves at peril's door, and they don't know why, and they don't know a way out? What does that do? So I think, brothers and sisters, we are really, I mean, the book was written in 1993, but if you read it, and you can get these articles at finalcall.com, so go there and check them out. He could have written those articles today.
Hey,
the only thing that would need to be changed would be statistics.
Yes, sir.
Because he talks about greed and the state of mind, inordinate greed. He talks about leadership of the American people not having the proper qualities. He talks about this lack of spiritual understanding and a lack of belief or acceptance, or trying to live or seeing the value of spirituality and spiritual values and the teachings of the scriptures that can help us live better lives and get along better with one another. He talks about, consumerism, and he talks about lack of manufacturing and investment in the country. And again, if I didn't mention this, I'm going to mention it again, the power of corporations and these kinds of things. So go back and read what he said on finalcall.com from his book, A Torchlight for America. Because, brothers and sisters, one of the questions that he asks is, if the country, the United States, is presented with solutions to her problems, will she reject the solution because of the one who delivers the message, instead of thanking God for the message and for the solution?
Yes, sir.
So this is a very serious day. And this is why we're trying to bear witness and share light and put things into a certain perspective, because I come back to one of the things I said really from the start of the show. So in the face of all of this, does it make sense that we unite for our own survival? Or should we continue to look for someone else to save us, even when that someone doesn't look like they can save themselves? And they admit they might not be able to save themselves. Go ahead, Brother James.
You was reading from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's book, and as he was doing that, I glanced at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I wanted to read two paragraphs from that, because it also indicates that the day we're in. It's from the chapter called The Dissatisfied, and it's from the Fall of America, which is a very interesting title. I've never seen another book called The Fall of America, and that's something that we as a people need to consider. Is the country, is America falling? It's falling right in front of our face. But it says the dissatisfied. We are living in the time when dissatisfaction is 100% throughout the world of man and mankind. Therefore, we are living among the dissatisfied persons daily and nightly. No one is satisfied, though they may be righteous. They are not satisfied because they are living among unrighteousness. So the whole entire world of the wicked and the righteous is upset due to dissatisfaction. And so that kind of paints a picture that shows why the country is in the condition that it's in. It's that everybody is dissatisfied. The right is dissatisfied. The left is dissatisfied. And we can't talk to one another. And we as black people associate with those kind of divisions, though most will associate, quote unquote, with the left, meaning Democratic Party. But you also have the right, and we even clash over ideologies and separate ourselves because of that kind of thing. And even though we're living segregated in this country, right next door to one another. But I just wanted to read that because it just was emblematic of what we're looking at today, and we just need to, most of us, I don't think, even realize. We don't even think of it in terms of the country's fall. We think, we think that there's a parachute as the Democratic Party or whatever that's going to, in 4 years or 2 years, turn everything around. And even though we speak of the Bible and look at all the ancient histories, we don't think of it as if, well, maybe we're living in a similar time that has a similar destiny for a similar country that has just gone astray. So,
yes, sir.
But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad points us in the right direction.
Yeah, but
they separate.
And I think, brothers and sisters, look, I really want you to understand what we are saying. And we're trying to be clear and sharing with you that which we have been taught and that which we have learned. Because I just don't see, brothers and sisters, and if you read opinion polls, if you read in particular before the election, but I would suggest that if you read that if they do any after the election, that they're still that America. I mean, think about this. Americans and American scholars and researchers and pollsters and millions of people do not believe that the country can survive. What does that mean? Brother BJ, we got somebody?
Yes, sir. Let's try to get Floyd in real quick. Floyd, you're on WVON. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, how y'all doing out there?
All right, sir. How are you?
All right, false. I was reading the Bible and I was listening to what you were saying about how they think the country is not going to survive. And I looked in the Bible and it says that society is going to change. Everything is going to change, but God's word is always going to remain the same. Now, I was raised to think that some of the constitutions of the United States came out of the Bible. And so basically what I'm trying to say is it seems as though we're getting further and further away from the word of God. And the further we get away from the word of God, things are going downhill. When they took prayer out of school, boom, everything just started happening all of a sudden. So basically what I'm saying is, if God's words never change, then why is society changing by getting away from the word of God? If we go back to the word of God, and a lot of people have always said that, then things will begin to fall back into place. That's all I got to say. And they falsifying statements. I'm going to call back next week. I just wanted to say that a little bit. And I enjoy your show. And I hope to talk to y'all next week.
Brother, thank you for calling, man. Appreciate you. Keep calling. We look forward to hearing from you next week.
Okay, absolutely false. All right.
Right.
Yep.
Brother Naba'a, just real quickly, I would add to Brother's statement that they really never did really follow the biblical teachings. And you can, just from the beginning, bringing people into slavery, saying that everybody is created equal, yet you had slaves and you had them for centuries. So there's a lot of hypocrisy going on in that Constitution.
Yeah, and the thing that struck me was that, brothers and sisters, I hope that you heard what our brothers said and how it is congruent with what we think, right? It doesn't clash with it. So my brother's reading the Bible, he's coming from that perspective, and I hear the truth in what he's saying.
Exactly.
See what I'm saying? So that truth is what we can unite them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, brothers and sisters. We head up to the top of the hour again, and we appreciate everybody calling in. And we got some more content. We're going to hand the microphone over to Brother James G. Muhammad coming up. We're going to talk about what's going on in Gaza. He's had some really good interviews. He talked with some Palestinian brothers and sisters earlier. I think it was last week, Brother James.
On Thanksgiving. First day was on Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah, so really good interview. Got a chance to listen to a lot of it, brother. So we're looking forward to him sharing that experience. And we'll do it right here on WVON 1690, the Talk of Chicago, coming up in the next hour, our final hour. And brothers and sisters, why don't y'all go to our website, Straight Words. Straight Words is our website, and you can check out some of our premium content from the last couple of months, the last couple of years. We have it archived on our website. And also there, you can go to the website and see how you can donate to keep our show on the air. It ain't free.
How you can do what? How you can what?
How you can keep our show on the air, because we need money. We need financial support.
We need your donations. Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. Donations. We need your financial support, your donations, and brothers and sisters. We on by the grace of God, by your support. Every time you hear our voices, you know that the brothers and sisters done chipped in and helped the show out to keep it going. So once again, we want your support. Straightwords.com. Also, our text line number directly to Brother Naba'a. You can talk to him tonight, 312-480-9775. That's 312-480-9775. You're listening to Straight Words on WVON 1690. This is the Talk of Chicago.
Hi, this is Lori Smith from the Sales and Marketing Department, and I want to wish you a safe and joyful holiday season.
The Talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation is 1690 WVON Berwyn.